welcome back to Lisa's Study Guides. You guys are studying comparative now, so we've done a blog post on Reckoning and The Namesake covering themes, and based off those themes that we've discussed, I decided to create a video that's going to use an essay prompt that covers those themes and go into detail with how you can break down that particular essay prompt. More specifically, I'm going to show you how you can use these themes to build out an argument and also show your interpretation of the text in an essay. The topic that we're going to be looking at today has a particular takeaway message that I want you to be able to use in any of your future essays, and that's that you need to choose examples selectively and effectively. These texts can be really dense sometimes, so you want to avoid recounting big slabs of events. Rather, pinpoint things that are actually going to help you build your case in responding to the essay prompt. As we cover this essay prompt, there will be a lot that I don't go into detail about, but if you're interested in learning more and you do end up finding this video helpful, then I'd recommend you have a look at my How to Write a Killer Comparative, which includes some examples of the namesake and reckoning, as I teach you particular strategies that will help you with your comparative second exam, including my convergent and divergent strategy. There's a free sample of the ebook that you can download if you wanted to have a look through it first. I know that's something that always helps me, reading through a sample of a book before I actually purchase it. So that's available there for you too if you wanted to use it. A little bit about the text. The namesake and reckoning are fundamentally about migrant families. They're about why a family might choose to migrate and what their lives are like after migration. They also look really closely at second generation migrants, those who grow up in the new country, and how their lives are affected by the move. The namesake focuses on the Ganguly family, and the central character, Gogol, finds himself constantly pulled back to his culture despite his attempts to escape it. On the other hand, Reckoning is Magda Zubanski's memoir about her family and her journey back in time to rediscover and reconnect with her heritage. In both texts, parents have a significant influence on the mindsets and worldviews of the protagonists, which is what our topic today will cover. The topic draws on two quotes, but in the meantime, I had been given a great gift, my parents' unconditional love. Reckoning. Don't worry, his father says. To me and your mother, you will never be anyone but Gogol, the namesake. And the prompt itself is, compare what the two texts suggest about parent-child relationships. Topics for comparative essays are usually pretty broad, but let's pull out some keywords and questions that the topic and quotes seem to raise. The one that stands out the most to me is this idea of unconditional love. For parents, this usually means they'll love and support their child no matter what mistakes or choices they make. In the context of Reckoning, this was brought up in terms of Magda's sexuality, which is neither a mistake nor a choice, but consider how it permeates through the memoir and how it's always been there in some of her parents' thoughts, words, and actions, and how it might compare with the namesake. The other quote is a little more interesting, in particular the "to me and your mother" bit, which I think complicates the idea of unconditional love. Is love still unconditional if parents define who you are and who you will never be? I think what's implied here is that you want to include some discussion of parental expectations, which is another can of worms. It might include things like how parents want you to behave, what career choices they might want you to make, whether or not they approve of your friends or romantic partners. Now, let's dive into a possible plan to tackle a topic like this. Paragraph 1. So firstly, let's establish that parent-child relationships are often laden with expectations. It may not be the obvious example, but Ashima's family had undoubtedly expected her to marry Ashok, a PhD student in Boston at the time, as conveyed through her mother's salesmanship. We see this mirrored in the life of Mushimi as well, whose parents orchestrated a series of unsuccessful schemes to see her married in her adolescence. Gogol experiences expectations that aren't also intentional. While his parents don't mean him any harm by naming him Gogol, he feels trapped by the name. Always hated it, in fact. Still, his parents are markedly disappointed when he chooses Columbia over MIT and are distressed by his low income while he's at college. Zubanski's parents have somewhat similar expectations in this regard. The ranks of the second generation are full of doctors and lawyers and professionals. She felt that all of the family's educational hopes rested on her. These examples mightn't be the most obvious, but they're effective for making this point and don't need too much explanation to tie it to the prompt. Paragraph 2. Let's keep this in mind for our second paragraph. Trauma can be passed on intergenerationally through how parents treat their children, and this can bring its own set of expectations as well. Gogol feels trapped by his name, but it is a result of his father's traumatic experiences. What Ashok might not realize is that this has caused Gogol even more distress on his own. This is probably stronger in Reckoning, where Peter's emotional capacity is compromised as a result of war. When Magda looks through the book filled with pictures of decomposing bodies and feels uneasy, her father's comment, "Don't be silly, it's just a picture," makes her feel ashamed of herself for her stupidity and weakness. So, parental expectations can be distorted by the traumatic experiences, which only serves to pass that trauma on. Paragraph 3. To conclude, let's flip this around to look at how children respond to their parents. In both texts, there's a sense that being able to confront these expectations and memories from the past helps children to synthesize their own identity and move forward in their own lives. In The Namesake, Gogol only reads the overcoat after his father dies, in fact saving it from a box that was about to be donated, destined to disappear from his life altogether. The novel ends here, which could represent that he's able to move into a new phase of his life only after having grappled with this one. Zubanski's pilgrimage back to Poland and Ireland come from similar desires to better understand her parents. She wondered if Europe might provide the sense of home she craved, particularly given her father's desire to never look back at his traumatic past there. I think the bottom line is that parent-child relationships are already complex and can be further complicated by a number of factors. Still, it's up to children to grapple with the burden of expectations and to forge their own path from there. And that's it. If you wanted to learn more about these two texts, including background information, context, and key themes, then definitely head over to Mark's blog post. It's free for you to read and use. A big thank you to Mark, who's just always exceptional at writing material for us at LSG. If you found this video helpful, then I appreciate it if you give us a thumbs up so that we know we're on the right track and that we're helping you. Take care, see you next time. Bye!